of you say واقعا یعنی توی 2 روز گذشته خیلی صحبت شده مسئله ملیت‌گرایی، مسئله در واقع مذهب مسئله مذهب و مسئله چپ به روز صحبت کردیم. امروز واقعا میخوایم صحبت کنیم چه تبعاتی این ایدئولوژی‌ها دارن در رابطه مسئله تکثر تشکیل خودشون در جامعه امروز ایران نشون میدن. من خیلی مفتخرم که صحبت‌ها رو با خانم پروفسور آزاده کیان شروع کنیم که محققی هستن با سابقه بسیار درخشان و طولانی. آزاده جان، what is yours؟
مرسی، خیلی متشکرم. از اول من بالا متنم به زبان انگلیسیه ولی میخواستم که به زبان فارسی فقط چند تا نکته رو در ابتدا بگم. من جنسیت رو در مرکز نقد ملی‌گرایی، قوم‌گرایی و اسلام‌گرایی و نیز کلونیالیسم قرار میدم در این صحبتم. نشون میخوام بدم که این ایدئولوژی ها در واقع زنان رو و بدن زنان رو چطوری کنترل میکنن، گرچه که در حیطه های اقتصادی، آموزشی، سیاسی و غیره حقوق هم به زنان میدن و داده شده، ولی چطوری این کنترل هم بر سکسوالیته زنان و هم بر بدن زنان در واقع اعمال شده. یک تعریفی هم دارم از رژیم جمهوری اسلامی که من این رو رژیم جنسیتی یا جندر رژیم در واقع به شمار میارم و در واقع اگر میخوام خیلی سریع بگم که منظورم چیه، جندر رژیم یا رژیم جنسیتی یک سری روابط و نهادهای جنسیتی و به هم پیوسته هستن که در واقع با هم یک سیستم رو میسازن و در این راستا وقتی که جنبش زن زندگی آزادی در واقع میاد و جای این در واقع نهادها و این پیوستگی ها رو به چالش میکشه، در واقع داره رژیم جنسیتی جمهوری اسلامی رو یا حکومت اسلامی رو به چالش میکشه. So in studies of nationalism and nation state building, gender and sexuality have been relegated to a subfield of national discourse. We need instead to focus on and analyze gender roles and symbolism and the ways in which they maintain social, national, ethnic, religious order or can promote social change. Gender is both an individual identity and an organizing principle of social structure and a cultural and historical product. I suggest to highlight and analyze women's agency, showing how power and gender work together, work through the self and the social, aiming at recentering the hegemonic discourse. The process of subjectivation is in interaction with unequal social relations. Placing gender at the center of questioning establishes a different perspective on the social world. National and ethnic groups stress social reproduction and the concern to carry on the national ethnic line. Women are pressed into acting as the principal signifiers of racial and ethnic boundaries. Contrary to the essentialist approach to ethnicity, according to which ethnic groups are natural and unchanging, ethnic relations are above all social relations. Economic and political inequalities produce ethnicity, ethnic groups, and ethnic claims. For this very reason, we need to rethink the notion of ethnicity from the margins, from the dominant. Ethnic religious factors are of course important in identity and gender reconstructions. These identity markers, however, change in context of social transformation. Therefore, the construction of identity should be historicized and contextualized. Assigned identities, gender discriminations, and ethnic oppression are resisted and contested as Women's Life Freedom Movement illustrated. It is crucial to analyze the articulations between 4 distinct but associated processes in the making of unequal social relations in contemporary Iran, namely gender, ethnicity, class, and religion. Iranian nationalism has from the beginning excluded entire segments of the population because of their ethnic, gender, or religious belongings. Iranian nationalism and Islamism both made use of male-dominant discourse to stabilize a hierarchical social order along with the supposed natural stability of gender categories. Indeed, In addition to ethnicity, nation-state building reformulated social relations in terms of gender. Women's role in the national community has been defined first and foremost that of a mother. They are sacralized and understood as a genetic resource for the national community. Since they give birth to future members of the nation, they also symbolize the honor of the nation and the community. Women mothers are then associated with notions of purity, chastity, authenticity, and morality. Maternal female bodies are also used as an allegory of the nation, as Nero Davis argued. Likewise, the most widely shared image of ethnic women refers to the link between women's bodies and their reproductive capacities. Following Ruth Miller and Michel Foucault, we can identify the womb as, quote, the predominant biopolitical space where states practice sovereignty. Therefore, the control of women and their sexuality is crucial to the process of national, religious, and ethnic reconstruction. The nation is gendered, but it is also sexualized. If in the nation's imagination women were above all chaste and loving mothers, femininity has been associated with women's fertility, especially to give sons to the nation, and men have not escaped their heterosexual and reproductive destiny. The language of nationalism that chooses women as symbolic depositories of group identity describes its objects using the vocabulary of kinship, thereby indicating something to which one is naturally attached. Iranian modernity, which is the foundation of nationalist ideology, has imposed also the gender dichotomy. The nation, politics, or knowledge were associated with the male gender, the homeland with the female gender. As Afsaneh Najmobadi and Firuze Kashani Sabit have argued, in the modernist nationalist discourse, the motherhood was represented as a suffering body, a vulnerable female figure offering the nationalists the discourse of protecting women and the motherhood and defending their honor. Nationalism transformed gender and sexuality and also produced the heteronormalization of love and sexuality. The woman's body was constituted as the originary home of all Iranians. The care for future mothers as the pedagogues of the nation was linked to the task of caring for the motherland. With the materialization of body politic, human agency and responsibility became essential to the preservation and recovery of the motherland. In modern Iran, the family was thus rethought in relation to the national community and no longer in relation to kinship. According to this reconfiguration of the family, the mother was no longer perceived as a mere reproducer, but was above all valued in her new educational and nurturing role. The nation thus took shape in the feminine model of the educated mother. However, educating women and encouraging them to enter the public space went hand in hand with strict control of women's sexuality, but also of their role in society. While nationalists encouraged women's regulated emancipation, they also promoted the values of modesty in their behavior. It is precisely these values of modesty mobilized by nationalists and, of course, that enabled them to assign women as second-class citizens. Under the Pahlavi state, the social hierarchy was rather based on male Persian identity and belonging to the detriment of other genders and ethnicities. The model of an ideal woman was that of a modern woman who was a Persian speaker, westernized, unveiled, educated, belonging to the urban middle class. However, despite her credentials, she remained modest and accepted the superiority of her male relatives, who themselves obeyed the Shah's authority. Both before and after the revolution, including in the ongoing movement, the women who illustrated their ability to fight and claim the use of force and even the right to violence against authoritarian dictatorial rule do not correspond to the norms of femininity, which is characterized, as you know, by passivity, docility, and dependence on men. Their displacement from femininity is likely to cause the destabilization of men's identities, additionally provoking a crisis of masculinity marked by virility, domination, and control over women's activities, bodies, and sexualities. Under the Islamic regime, the Shiite dimension of Iranian identity is highlighted to the detriment of other religions, including Sunnism, and women are submitted to men's neo-patriarchal authority. The ethnicization of Sunnite religion in everyday life is paramount, and the local and central authorities contribute tremendously to enforce religious divisions in order to divide the have-nots and to rule. This process of othering reinforces the ethnicized social order that is already set in place. This ethnicized hierarchy, however, is not hermetically sealed, and there is considerable differentiation and fluidity within it. Moreover, like other power relations, it can be changed. In fact, this model of power is increasingly challenged by aspirations for full citizenship rights of both marginalized men and women brought about by social, economic, and cultural change. Shiite-centered prejudice has also led to the tightening of control wherein ethnic and religious minorities exerted on their women as symbolic agents of group identity, biological and cultural reproducers of ethnic community in charge of transmission of ancestral values to their children, symbols of ethnic unity, and its own essence. This construction, too, has been challenged by the women life freedom movement. Sylvia Wolpe defined gender regime as a series of gendered and interconnected relations and institutions that together constitute a system. Under the Islamic gender regime, the model of an ideal woman is that of an urban middle class, Shiite, veiled, educated but modest woman, a good mother and wife. In both monarchical and Islamist models, women belonging to religious and ethnic minorities, especially Sunnites, are excluded from the state-initiated construction of modern women. The political system is founded on Shiism, and the implemented state policies have consolidated social hierarchy founded on religious, ethnic, and gendered identities. Intersectional analysis of social relations of gender, class, ethnicity, and religion that accounts for discrimination in everyday experiences of ethnic and religious minority women and men is thus a fertile approach when dealing with the question of social inequalities in a class-based, multi-ethnic and multi-religious country like Iran. Intersectionality is also a frame for social action against all-out inequalities. As Patricia Hill Collins argues, freedom and social justice are deeply intertwined. But what about the reshaping of gender and ethnicity in the process of social transformation underway in Iran? Ethnicity is not dissolved in social change. Rather, it draws new resources and new forms of expression from it. I think this is what Kamran will be talking about. As my research has shown, the structural transformations that have taken place, especially since the 1970s, have led to better access for both Persian Shiite and non-Persian girls to schools, university education, and the professionalization of a number of women. One of the outcomes of these transformations is that patriarchal family, founded on male power and domination, is being questioned and is undergoing change. The specific role of women in the process of family and social change and the weakening of the patriarchal family should be emphasized. Within the gender regime, the specific social, religious, and cultural context, ethnic minority women deploy specific strategies of subtle resistance, of appropriation, to try to alleviate the inequalities relative to the gendered social order. In a silent, dispersed, and diffuse manner, ethnic and subaltern Persian women have developed their own ways to challenge the neo-patriarchal order. These ordinary women have become agents of social change. Women like freedom, borrowed from the Kurdish feminist movement in Turkey, has emphasized the importance of women as major political states. It has also led to the rise of an intersectional consciousness, according to which democracy, freedom, and social justice are closely intertwined with gender, ethnic, religious, sexual, or class equality. This national solidarity and intersectional consciousness against the Islamic regime went far beyond ethnic, religious, class, or gender boundaries and was paramount in the slogans that were chanted during the demonstrations from September 2022 onward. Some of these slogans were "Az Kurdistan ta Tehran, Janan Fadai Iran" was chanted in Tehran. It is important to see who and where these slogans were chanted. In Zahedan, it was chanted "Kurdistan, Zahedan, Cheshm o Chirag Iran." در پیرانشهر کرد، بلوچ، آذری، آزادی و برابری. یک باز در دانشگاه تربیت مدرس در تهران گفته شد از زاهدان تا تبریز فقر و فساد و تبعیض. یا شعار دیگر بود نان، کار، آزادی، پوشش اختیاری و از کردستان تا تهران ستم علیه زنان. شما اینجا میبینید که ستم علیه زنان دیگه بود در واقع ملی پیدا میکنه. این شعار من برای همین به نظرم بسیار مهمه. The Women Life Freedom Movement has had a number of intersectional transformative impacts, one of which is that women, at least women activists, refused to be subjected to the neo-patriarchal authority of men. Through acts of resistance and civil disobedience, or what Gayatri Spivak called enabling violation, a growing number of women reject binary thinking and social institutions that have been working to fabricate gendered bodies through differential socialization, gender segregation, and discriminatory laws. They try to take control of their destiny, including their bodies and sexualities. Through performative acts, those who believe that sexual and bodily freedom cannot be separated from fighting the Islamic regime transgress the Islamic norms, unveil and refuse to hide their bodies, they sing, dance, and utter the urgent need for freedom. Against the cult of mourning, thus emerged the cult of joy, against division, unity, and a new inclusive definition of Iranianness, founded on equal rights to citizenship of all Iranians, regardless of their gender, class, religion, or ethnicity. Also, a consciousness has stemmed, according to which democracy, freedom, secularization, and social justice are closely intertwined with gender, ethnic, religious, sexual, or class equality. However, women and other minorities, as major agents of change, need to be beware not to be betrayed again by the return of neo-nationalist, ethnicist, and Islamist reformist discourses, both inside the country and within the diaspora. Thank you.
Thank you.